Hello and welcome to this live event on fact-checking and how to debunk the far-right talking points with Italian journalist Annalisa Camilli and Greek journalist Stavros Malichudis. Before introducing our guests for today's conversation, we'd like to very warmly thank Voxeurop supporters and shareholders for the trust. It enables us to keep hosting such events, keep translating and publishing quality journalism, throughout investigations and great cartoons, and last but not least, stay independent. This is all the more important that independent media outlets like Voxeurop operate in a landscape more hostile than ever. So if you're not supporting us yet, please consider doing so. We'll post some links in the chat during the conversation, and if you want to donate or buy shares or of our press cooperative, thank you very much in advance. And now, just before we start, we have a tradition at Voxeurop. Please write in the chat box where you're based currently. I am Catherine André, currently based in Paris, editorial director and co-founder of Voxeurop.
Hi, welcome everyone. I'm Gian-Paolo Accardo, editor-in-chief of Voxeurop, currently in Modena, Italy. So, the far right and some right-wing populist politicians and aligned media outlets are waging several campaigns of disinformation across Europe, most of the time on the most pressing theme, like climate change, migration, gender, and LGBT plus rights. And this results in a distortion of the debate on these issues and overall in a polarization of the public opinion. Such disinformation is therefore damaging to democracy. To fight it, Voxeurop has joined forces with Italy's Internazionale and Greece's Solomon in a transnational fact-checking initiative called RightWatch. We are very glad today to host two representatives of those dear partners, as well as RightWatch. This event is supported by the European Media and Information Fund.
Hello, Annalisa and Stavros. I'm going to just introduce you now. So, Annalisa Camilli, you're an Italian award-winning journalist working for the weekly news magazine Internazionale. You have previously worked at Associated Press and Rai News 24. You have extensively covered migration in Italy and Greece. And Stavros Malichudis, you're a Greek journalist working for Solomon. You also have won several awards for your work, which focuses on migration, the far right, and social surveillance, to the point that you were infamously being targeted by a covert eavesdroppings campaign.
It's great to be here. It has been great working with you, over the past several months. Yeah, and very much looking forward to our discussion and to having more feedback from the audience, questions, to our discussion about it.
Thank you. It's a pleasure also to me to stay here and to have some feedbacks from you. And I think that this kind of cooperative project, it is very important at the moment, even for the kind of international network we are trying to study.
Thank you very much, Annalisa. So, we'll start maybe just by explaining the project, the RightWatch project, briefly. And I will ask Gian-Paolo. Gian-Paolo, so you're also kind of guest today. Tell us a bit more. How did you get the idea of this project and how did you decide to focus on those topics? And also, why did you choose Internazionale and Solomon as partners? And would you say it highlights the importance of a multilingual and transnational approach? Many questions in one.
Yeah, well, I'll try to be brief so that we can leave some space for our guests. So, the project was born because we felt, as I said in the introduction, that the right-wing narrative has become kind of mainstream lately. It is not only my opinion, but it's something that has been written about quite extensively by experts in media analysis and in the public discourse analysis, such as Cas Møde, for example, one of our esteemed contributors. And so to combat this narrative, of course, politicians have their job to do, but the media also is called to deliver some insights into this, and to also to deliver to the public opinion some tools to be able to distinguish within the right-wing narrative what is true and what is fake, because often it is based simply on fake fact and fake and things that are simply not true. So the best way for media to combat this is through fact-checking, which is, of course, a lengthy process. We will maybe talk about it later on. And with regard to the topics that we've chosen the topics, first of all, those topics, so climate change, social issues, and migration, because those are the topics on which the far right tends to focus. We've heard a few days ago that Donald Trump himself, one of the, let's say, far right worldwide leaders, just said that climate change and migration are the two main issues that are threatening Europe. So we're probably right to focus on those topics. So those are the most important ones, we believe. And we chose Internazionale and Stavros as partners because in their respective countries, we believe that they are probably the best who have tackled on these issues and with whom we could work. We work with both previously, we're always happy. And so in a collaborative project, since trust is essential, we thought that we would have been happy to work with them, and we have definitely no regrets for that. The multilingual and transnational approach is also part of our DNA, I would say, and so we are always happy to collaborate with news organizations that are based in other countries, especially if we already are in a trustworthy relationship with them. And also, since those are transnational issues, the transnational and translation was totally consistent with the project.
Thank you, Gian-Paolo. So now to both of you, Annalisa and Stavros, a general question. How did you choose, or how do you choose, generally speaking, the specific cases you decide to work on? And do you have specific techniques or tools that you have developed? So maybe Annalisa, do you want to start?
We have chosen the most popular sentences or slogans or propaganda sentences used by leaders or by groups of the far right in our countries. And we had chat before, trying to find something in common among our far-right groups. We have spoken about extra-parliamentary groups or institutional far-right parties. We, of course, in Italy, for example, and also in Greece, but Stavros could explain better than me, we at the moment have a far-right government, and this changed a lot because we have had 10-15 years of far-right groups, also extra-parliamentary groups, who has used some slogans or some conspiracy theory regarding migrants, regarding religious minorities, regarding women, women's rights, basically this and also regarding the environment. Basically, these big four issues were at the middle, at the center of the far-right propaganda. And we have tried to analyze their slogans and try to find out if there were some similarities in the different parties, in the different countries. And it was not so difficult to find out that there were a lot of similarities in their speeches and in their slogans.
Thanks a lot, Annalisa and Stavros.
I would start just from where Annalisa finished. I think it's very interesting to see that there are common patterns, there is common rhetoric, common phrases, common fake news that is being distributed among different European countries. And sometimes it's very interesting to track, where it all began and how it evolves as this kind of information spreads. So there were lots of issues, lots of angles that we could jointly look into. The second thing is that, as Gian-Paolo said, the issues that we picked, they are becoming, if not mainstream, they are becoming normalized in the public sphere in Europe. And you can see it more and more. In Greece, we're having more far-right parties now being represented and having visibility. The issues that they raise are very, very commonly targeting minorities, targeting migrants. They have to do with climate crisis. So I think we picked on our side. We have a colleague that says that Greece is a very small country that creates lots of news compared to its size. And we know that this is also true when it comes to fake news or false information. So we tried to focus on systemic issues and on issues that are really influential, because otherwise we would have to to be doing this all day long, as this kind of info never finishes. So we focused on the ones that really made sense for our team and our colleagues to look into and delve into them.
Thank you, Stavros. Let's go a little bit more into those cases. So, Annalisa, you've coordinated a story on the term remigration, which has become popular, if I can say so, in France and Italy lately as well. And how did it manage to impose itself in the news and in a growing number of publications and debates? And how did you go about to debunk it? And Stavros, I would ask also a question about Greece.
Well, basically the term were used by far-right groups in support of the conspiracy theory, the famous ethnic replacement or Greek replacement that born in the French extra-parliamentary far-right groups. And basically these terms masks deportation. That is an illegal practice in Europe, is still forbidden in most of our countries, forbidden by the fundamental chart of European Union, of human rights in European Union. But a lot of small groups in France started to use this word. But the success of the word in the identitarian network was especially done by the German party Alternative für Deutschland during the campaign, during the campaign for the political election, and then also during the political campaign, the presidential campaign in the US, in United States. Last year, the President Donald Trump used it against Kamala Harris and saying that he would deport all the irregular migrants arrived during the democratic government in US. And that is in some way the Trump intervention let the world explode in the sense that it determined the success of this word. In Italy, the term been gaining success since this year. In January, following the reports of sexual harassment by young men of foreign origin, second generations of migrants in Milan during New Year's Eve in Piazza Duomo. Basically, the far right accused and spread this news about the harassment and asked for remigration, meaning that they want the deportation of these people that in most of the case were born in Italy and were Italian citizenship of foreign origin. Also in May this year, was organized a summit in Milan, near Milan, a global summit organized by the Identitarian International Network. The leader of this summit was an identitarian politician called Martin Sellner from Austria. He is one of the main politicians joined this event, organizing this event. And basically in Italy, politicians who are using institutional far-right politicians who are using this word join the Liga, the Northern Liga, the party, and also there is one man that is part of the government using this word that, for example, is not so common now, is dividing also Alternative für Deutschland. Inside the German party, they are debating if using or not using anymore this word, this slogan, because it's divisive and could scare the electorate. While in Italy, we are starting using this slogan. For example, one of the leader of the Liga, Roberto Vannacci, that is also a representative of Parliament, of European Parliament, and also is trying to become the new leader of Liga after Matteo Salvini. He's using a lot. Also recently has used again this word, this slogan, promising that they want to deport, they want to adopt a remigration plan. In order, of course, to fact check this slogan, this propaganda, this word, basically we interviewed some experts because it was very clear that we should tell the story of the word in order to show that it was just political propaganda, and that it was born inside the far-right Galassia, the far-right international network, and it is spreading all over Europe, but also all over the world. And also we were interviewing some legal expert, basically trying to show that at the moment this kind of political project is illegal in Europe and is against the fundamental human rights that are written in our constitutions and in our charts.
I think the most important part to keep in mind is what Annalisa said, that this practice would be illegal. Secondly, the collective expulsion of tens of thousands of people or hundreds of thousands of people is also practically impossible. And according to legislation, each case should be handled independently. So this is an argument that has no legal basis and also practically could not happen, but it has also some small spread in Greece as well. This is mostly from far-right groups, not the large ones, but we can see that there is this kind of rhetoric, although, as I said, it's it wouldn't be practically possible to have that. And the second thing is that this kind of rhetoric is based in an understanding from the far right that there are too many migrants in each country or in Europe. And then if you see at the data, this is not true. So in Greece, both when it comes to migrants and when it comes to people who have been given international protection, data shows that most of them, they have in the past years left the country. So this whole argument where this kind of rhetoric is based, that there are just too many people, third country nationals in the country, is not backed by data as well.
It's a proposal that was made by far-right leaders in France, in Italy, I understand also in Greece. In the specific case of those refugees, is it legally possible? And is it possible also, this is more maybe a question for Annalisa, to outsource the management of asylum demanders abroad, as Italy is trying to do in Albania? And maybe, Stavros, you could tell us if it is something that has been discussed also in Greece?
Sure, it has been slightly discussed. I would point out here that there's another argument in Greece which says that migrants are not to be sent back home to their home countries, but they are to be sent in remote, isolated islands, Greek islands, islands that are not inhabited by people, which actually in past they were exile islands. So there is a far-right argument that, they should be sent there. Although there are no facilities there, there is, there's no structure for anybody to live there. So this is one thing. On the case of people being sent back home, I think the most important issue to take into account here is that, as I said, each case should be examined individually, independently. There is no, general decision that can be taken for this. And at the same time, what we see in Greece a lot is that there's a very big rhetoric about people being sent to their countries, but these countries, there might be still in war, they might face any kind of discrimination there, because there are different types of asylum and international protection that can be given. And this is why I say one more time, each case should be handled independently.
Annalisa, on the outsourcing of asylum demanders abroad, and especially to Albania, which is, I think, a premiere in Europe. How is it going, by the way?
First of all, about the Syrians, at the moment, every international agencies like UNHCR, but also the lawyers associations, the local lawyers associations also here in Italy have cleared that for the moment Syria could not be considered a safe country, and for the moment this is why it is not possible to send back at the moment Syrian refugees. And also, government should not pressure, should not do any kind of pressure on refugees in order to come back to their country of origin. But of course, we have seen a lot of diplomatic effort to normalize the situation and the relationship with the new government in Syria following the fall of the Syrian regime. And a lot of human rights activists and lawyers fears that this is the first step in order to consider Syria as a safe country and basically do not accept anymore any asylum requests from asylum seekers coming from Syria. This is, of course, possible to suspend, to consider as a country a safe country, and it was very clear this summer because the European Court decided about Albania, about some cases regarding Italy and regarding asylum seekers that Italy last October sent to Albania in order to externalize the asylum process. Basically, the whole process was suspended because it was not they were not authorized by Italian Italian courts. Suspended all the process in Albania, and these groups of asylum seekers were moved to Albania, and then they moved back to Italy. The court asked the European Court about this kind of process. They asked if it was legal according to European laws. And the European courts last summer said that it was not legal to send these asylum seekers to Albania. That's why...
Sorry, the European Court of Human Rights, right?
Exactly.
In Strasbourg. Okay.
Exactly, the European Court of Human Rights. That's why Italy basically has not closed these centers, but is moving the target of this center in the sense that is moving there irregular migrants that has been rejected their asylum request. Basically, in order to not close the centers and not recognizing the fail of these centers that was very, very expensive for the Italian government. Basically, they transformed, they changed the destination of these centers, and they are moving irregular migrants, people who were denied the asylum request, from Italy to Albania in order to be repatriated at the end of the process. But also this kind of process has been put on trial in Italy, and we will see how it will end. But for the moment, it is illegal to externalize the asylum request. The point is that when next year in 2026, the new European laws, the new European Pact on Asylum and Migration will enter into effect, this could change, because what is now what the government in Europe is trying to change is the concept of what is a safe country, what is a third safe country. All the debate now in Europe is about this, because the European government want to externalize to third country considered safe, like Albania, most of the asylum requests. For the moment, this is illegal, but this could change in the coming years.
Thank you, Annalisa. So first questions from the audience are coming in. There's one which I would like Stavros to reply quickly. Some has been already partially replied, but I will read it anyway. It comes from Nasir, who is a Brussels police and city councillor. Nasir is asking 3 questions, to which I would like Stavros a short answer to each. Is remigration just a slogan, or can it actually become a real policy? The second one is, can mass deportation be legal under international human rights law? And the third is, what obstacles in European constitutions or law would block such a policy?
Mass deportations cannot be legal under international human rights law. As we said before, each case would be examined differently. So the sole fact that tens of thousands of applications are not even considered, but people are being deported, this violates their own human rights. I would not think that remigration can actually become possible. I mean, if we consider, the countries that people arriving in Europe come from, I wouldn't see it possible that, these big numbers of people would be sent to countries that are torn by war, by civil war, by hardships. I wouldn't find it possible. But at the same time, we see that EU member states have a tendency to violate human rights and to not obey necessarily to what is provided by international law. In Greece, we have had cases also this year where the government decided that asylum applications would be freezed for 2 months, for example. We have had that before. So this is, so we can see that things can be irregular when it comes to legal law, to international law, but at the same time, they might happen. Just on the practical aspect of remigration, this is what I think thankfully could make it not possible.
Thank you, Stavros. There are more questions coming in, and there's one question or remark from Manuela. I think both of you could actually answer, but is it possible to talk about the problem of disinformation without bringing to the light the huge problem of platformization, and how the platforms engage with some kinds of contents?
For example, in Italy, we have had a lot of investigation and articles about this, and it started more than 10 years ago. Some political groups discovered that social networks, social media was focusing on hate and on hate speech and on hate speech about minorities, about women, about foreign people, about migrants, refugees, and this kind of contents produce engagement in the public, produce more engagement, more traffic, more comments, and that's why there was a big investment, big fund from the far-right networks and far-right global network on this kind of political propaganda and this kind of interaction, also with followers, not political activists. That's how you can contact with political slogans, with political propaganda, also who is not a proper activist, a proper militant, a proper politicized person, citizen. And this was underreported for years, also underreported to authorities, guarantees authorities, institutions. It was not seen, this kind of strategy. And also the kind of the amount of money that political parties was investing in this propaganda. A lot of investigation in recent years have showed how it worked. Basically, there were sort of thousands of automatical accounts. Twitter was at the center in the first years. Twitter was at the center of these strategies. Now podcasts are more important than Twitter, but however, Twitter was at the beginning, 10 years ago, one of the main platforms for this kind of speech. A lot of automatical accounts were involved in the spreading of these slogans and this propaganda. Some influencers were involved. They present themselves like a simple citizen, not politicized, but they were founded by political parties or political groups. And basically, they were the connection between the grassroots movements and the institution, the far-right parties, the institutional far-right parties, or also among the social networks and the general audience of TV shows. For example, a more wide audience, for example, the TV audience.
I would like to thank everybody for attending and participating in this live event. And thank you so much to Annalisa and Stavros for being with us today. I would also like to thank again our supporters and shareholders who make this possible. If you haven't seen it yet, we are currently running on the campaign trail as we need urgent support to keep doing what we do. Among others, these kind of events. We welcome any support by donating or buying shares of our independent press cooperative. If you have any questions on why we need you by our side or anything else, actually, please book a chat with someone on the team. We're glad to be available at a time convenient for you.
And as I said before, and as Paul just wrote in the chat, we really did this talk. And you will soon receive a video of the best moments of the event, and we will post it on our website. So don't hesitate to share it around in your networks. Keep posted to the next Voxeurop Live, which will be in October, and we will announce the subject later on in a forthcoming newsletter. Thanks again for being with us. If you're enjoying this discussion, please consider supporting us. So, as Gian-Paolo just said, so thank you very much again, Annalisa and Stavros and everybody for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Arrivederci.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Arrivederci.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.